We are honored to be joined by State Assemblywoman Eliana Pintor Marin, who is chair of the Assembly Budget Committee. And thank you for joining us again, Assemblywoman.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
We're taping on the 17th of November. We'll be seeing after that into 2021. Describe the community you live in and you represent and why it's so vulnerable to COVID.
So first of all, Steve, let me tell you, I love my community. I love being, I was born and raised in the Ironbound and I still live here. I think that my community with COVID has been terribly affected. It's a community where we really are a self-service community in the sense that we're working at the restaurants, we're working at the laundromats, we're working at a lot of areas in the supermarkets that are essential. That have been throughout this crisis. I have a community that is largely undocumented as well. And I have a community where you have multiple families living in one apartment. But it's a beautiful community, right? We're Portuguese, Hispanic, we're everything that you can think of under the sun. And I think that's what really makes the Ironbound so special. Unfortunately, we've had some terrible incidents with quite a few families getting sick. And I hope that 2021 will be better for us all.
And by the way, for those who are watching us, not just throughout New Jersey, but throughout the multi-state region we're seen in, it is the Ironbound section of Newark, a long-standing, proud community that has survived some very challenging, tough times. My oldest son, Stephen, happens to live right off of Ferry Street and loves the community. But let me ask you this, Assemblywoman. You're also one of the chief financial gurus, if you will, in the state legislature when it comes to how we deal with our economic situation. Question: what do you believe the long-term implications and the impact of COVID will be on the New Jersey revenue situation?
So, we're having a great year in the beginning of 2020, right? We were seeing revenues coming in very strong. We were very happy with some of the things that we had instituted and some of the programs. And then all of a sudden, it's like we had the floor crumble underneath us. We still saw some strong sales revenue coming in throughout the last couple of months. And I'll be quite honest with you, Steve, there's no way that I thought that in early November, we were going to see this spike happening at this point. We were all talking about, flu season's really just getting started. So I'm quite wary of what January and February are going to look like to us. Normally December is a strong month for us at the state with regards to the sales and revenues coming in. So I am going to be very cautious. I was much more optimistic up until now. I'm going to be very cautious as to what our December is going to look like. And more so, I think, our January and February months. And that was why this past budget cycle, we had to make sure we had enough cushioning in there to get us through these next couple of months.
Assemblywoman, I've talked to you about this before, and I want to bring it up again. We're involved in an initiative relating to more affordable, accessible childcare. The initiative right now is called Reimagined childcare. With all the fiscal challenges, in the state, there's been a significant amount of money allocated to increasing the amount of affordable, accessible childcare, and you've been a leader in that effort. How important is, particularly during this pandemic as we move forward, affordable, accessible childcare?
Steve, it still continues to be a big problem. I think we all know that. I was glad to see that the state stepped in with some federal help with regards to DCF and the Department of Human Services and kind of reallocating some money. But you see that even with these restrictions, it's been more important so now than ever because it's very tough to really provide great child care. And when you're limited in the resources, when you're limited in your capacity of intake of kids, but still need to maintain safe standards, it's becoming even more challenging to make sure that our child centers survive. And I think that has to be a priority moving forward even for the next budget cycle.
Some of them help people understand the connection between quality and affordable child care and people working and paying taxes and being productive citizens. Some of us potentially take it for granted, but most cannot and do not take it for granted.
Listen, I say it all the time. I am extremely fortunate. I have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old. My parents helped me out tremendously when it comes to childcare. I know what some of my friends are paying. I know what some colleagues have paid in the past. And I know what some of my families that are working for are paying to try to have their children be in a safe place, but yet make sure that they can provide food on the table. And we know that there's some difficult decisions that are being made even today. Do I go to work? Do I pay my rent? Or do I pay for my childcare in order to be able to work and pay for my rent? And parents shouldn't be faced with this. It's 2020, we're moving on to 2021. You would have thought that by now we've kind of had this figured out, but we don't. It's still a tremendous challenge. And it's one of those top issues. Parents cannot go to work and have a productive work day if they understand and they know clearly that they don't have a place to have their children in that's safe and equitable.
And disproportionately, the problem, the challenge, the conundrum falls on women.
Yes, yes. You know, I think we were making such strides as women, not only at the state, but at national level. And Steve, I have to tell you that it's very worrisome moving forward that a lot of these challenges, not only financially, but professionally, and I want to say mentally, what a challenge it is for us as working mothers to be able to provide both financially and be able to provide our children with a safe place.
Someone, before I let you go, real quick, got a minute left. Debt, borrowing, record amount of borrowing going on in the state right now. The governor has argued, and obviously the legislature approved, even though many Republicans oppose this. The governor argued that these are extraordinary times, drastic times, and they call for an amount of borrowing that's unprecedented. Tell folks in the minute we have left why that's a correct position.
Listen, Steve, as you're going to see that this is going to get worse before it gets better. I think that we had to make sure that we had enough cushioning in there to get us through the next couple of months. But I want to say one other thing. People forgot how difficult it was for us to get out of the recession under the Christie administration. We needed to maintain and needed to make sure that our people are working, and we need to make sure we had a certain number of spending in there in order to make sure that people are working and providing for their families.
Yeah. Assemblywoman Eliana Pintor Marin, who is the chair of the State Assembly's Budget Committee, also representing the 29th Legislative District. Assemblywoman, I want to thank you for joining us. Best to you, your family, and all of your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
We'll be back after this.
Think Tank with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by the Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagined Childcare, PNC, Grow Up Great, New Jersey Sharing Network, Seton Hall University, Valley Bank, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, Johnson & Johnson, United Airlines, and by ADP. Promotional support provided by NorthJersey.com and Local IQ, part of the USA Today network, and by Jaffe Communications.
This is the Seton Hall story, one that comes to life every day on our campus. This is the place where great minds discover, innovate, collaborate, and find their true calling. This is the place where passion has a purpose, where learning inspires leading. The bonds we make, the values we teach, inspire our community to take heart and take action. This is Seton Hall University. This is what great minds can do.